Today on All Out Brick, we're going to be taking a look at the Toa Metru. We're going to build them, review them, and then give out a score. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Christian from All Out Brick. Welcome to another Mata Nui Monday. As always, the best way to tag along with us every week is to subscribe and turn on notifications. This week, we'll be building the Toa Metru, which is released as a part of the 2004 line of Bionicle. The Toa Metru were set into motion by Toa Lhikan, who delivered his directive to 6 Matoran of Metru Nui. Little did Lhikan know that these Matoran were deliberately chosen by Makuta, as they all had clashing personalities. These Toa fought to save Metru Nui from Makuta's plot to rule over the Matoran, but ultimately they had to settle for safely fleeing to Mata Nui. If you are not already aware, these Toa Metru become the Turaga we all know and love from Mata Nui. Once again, that we have Toa, we have canisters as our packaging. On the front, there are some cool images of each of the Toa, different action poses, different backgrounds of Metru Nui. These are different backgrounds from the Matoran of Metru Nui, so we really get an expanded view of what exactly is Metru Nui. This is nice. Then, of course, in the bottom left of this front, we have the ages 7+, along with the set number. The backs of the canisters also show a map of Metru Nui, the same one that we got from the Matoran of Metru Nui, except this time we have the Toa that are highlighted and pointed out on each region of Metru Nui. The canisters have a little game on each of them. On some of them, it says to put them in the refrigerator, and after 10 minutes, you'll get a web code. I tried this, doesn't work anymore, it's been too long. And on others, it says that there's an instant win game inside. Inside, we receive a bundle of pieces, along with the instructions and some advertisement material from 2004. After getting a taste of Metru Nui from the Matoran sets, I'm really pumped up to build these Toa Metru base models. Let's jump right in. Minutes later, we now have our completed Toa Metru. A little bit longer build than I honestly thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be around like 20 minutes, maybe a little less, but these had more pieces than I suspected. And first off, they're such good models. They are excellent. Their look is completely different than anything we've ever seen before. Really, like the Matoran of Metru Nui did, just branch out so far. I would never associate these with any of the models we did from Mata Nui. They feel so different. They definitely give you this feel of like, okay, now we're in a different world, and the result is just excellent. LEGO did such a good job making these models. Their looks are very different from one another as well, and it's not just the colors. Obviously, the colors are contrasting between from like Toa to Toa, but their heights are different, and it's really only done by managing one piece that changes their heights up. Like when you compare Wenua to Nokama, very different looks when it comes to height, but it's really only one or two pieces that are different here. The new molds that are in these sets are really great as well. I think almost every piece is brand new, from the shoulders to the legs to the knees, like the little armor caps that go on the upper legs, and obviously the masks. Everything is excellent. And my favorite upgrade are the head pieces. The heads can now articulate. I have been calling for this for so long that we've been doing these Bionicle reviews, and finally our Toa heads can articulate. It's done via a ball and socket joint, and the eyepieces are different than the Toa Mata and the different Mata Nui models. The eyepieces, they just slide right in, and then a 2-axle holds them all together. This makes it very easy if you want to like use these pieces as a mock or for something else. You don't have to struggle to get the eyes out. Of course, there are ways to get the Mata Nui eyes out, but we won't go into them in this video. The weapons are great as well. They're very different from one another, like everything else with these models. The molds don't look super similar, and it's very clear that they're different. With the Toa Nuva weapons, there was like kind of a look that they were very standard across the board. Like you kind of had to look a little extra hard to make sure that they were super different. But with the Toa Metru, I don't really get that feeling at all. I get the sense of like, okay, yeah, these are all way different from one another. The closest comparison would be like Onewa's to Nokama's, but you know, even still with there, the ends are very different. The weapons are also able to attach in multiple ways for every single Toa. Most of the time, it just snaps onto their back as if they weren't holding the weapons in their hands. In the case of Nuju, he can put his weapons on his feet, which are kind of like ice or snowshoes, gives him some extra grip in that slippery environment. When it comes to playability, the Toa Metru are what I imagine to be pretty close, if not the peak of Bionicle playability. Almost everything is adjustable here. We have knees, we have elbows, we have hips, we got everything. However you want to pose these models, however you want to move them, you can. The only thing you can't do is kind of like put the arms or shoulders where you want them to, but both arms can rotate by twisting on the back, just like with the Toa Mata and the Toa Nuva. However, with those models, oftentimes only one of the arms would rotate, or in Pohatu's case, the legs would be the ones rotating. The Toa Metru, every single one of them, both arms are able to move, and then with the legs, you don't have to really worry about them moving or anything because you can pose them however you want. The knees and the hips, it's awesome. The little ankle joints as well. There's everything here. There's really nothing, and on top of it, the heads can articulate. There's really nothing that I feel like they're missing here. And one thing I want to point out really quickly is that the masks are great. They nailed them. They look kind of similar to the Turaga masks. Like, when I look at them and you're like, if you said to me, okay, Vakama the Toa is also Vakama the Turaga, it's like, oh, okay, I can see the resemblance here. And it's kind of like that across the board. It's not blatant, but when you know it, it makes sense. And so I think they did a really great job of balancing, like taking influence from those original masks from the Turaga, but not sticking to them like, okay, we have to make sure it looks just like this, but, you know, a younger version. So good job there. The Toa Metru, quite honestly, I don't see any flaws with these base models. And that's rare. I know there's no such thing as a perfect model, but to be honest, like, there's really nothing I would change about them. They're from top to bottom, across the entire board, all 6 of these Toa Metru. So good. Just so good. I'm kind of like speechless when it comes to these like cons because there are no cons. The combination models for the Toa Metru don't follow a specific pattern like these types of sets normally do. One of the builds is for a prototype Vaki, and another is for a species of Rahi on Metru Nui. Without a doubt, they're going to be a blast, so let's go ahead, break these base models down, and get right on with the combination builds. After 31 minutes, I'm now completed with the Toa Metru combination models. Really cool models. Definitely shake it up from the typical Toa Kaita with the 2001 Toa Mata and the Toa Nuva from 2003. We really just saw Toa Kaita as the combination, so I kind of expected it with these. So to have not be Toa Kaita, big plus. I like the models that they came up with. Definitely really original, expand the Bionicle universe. They really feel like they could be their own set. Obviously, like the mixed colors is pretty clear that it's a combination model. But I think if you were to make these as like one consistent color, they would look awesome and they could totally be their own set. So I really commend the designers for saying like, okay, like what's the best thing we can make? Not like what's something we can make, what's the best thing we can make? Certainly did that. Once again, the color schemes for the Metru Nui combination models, I'm a big fan of. We have brown, green, and red, and black, blue, and white. This is different from anything we saw in Mata Nui, but it also matches the Matoran of Metru Nui combination models. I think the green, white, blue, and the red, brown, black is the best color combination we've seen, and maybe it's just the most nostalgic, maybe that's why, but I think these colors work really well together. So for future combination models, I would love to see them stick with this same color combination or the ones that we saw in Mata Nui. Either one's fine with me. Something else that I liked during this combination model process was that the build was a little bit tougher than the base model builds, and this is kind of consistent over the Bionicle line, and it's partly due to the fact that the instructions are more condensed and don't show every little step. So the base models, yeah, it's like this nice 7+ model, super breezy build, but with the combination models, it's a little bit more of a challenge, and I like that part of it. I wouldn't want it to just be like super basic. I think it being a challenge is fun, but if you're really young or you're not as experienced of a builder, I could see it being a little frustrating, so keep that in mind. The downsides to these models, though, really relies more on their functionality and not necessarily their appearance. Like I said, I love the look of them, and I think in any kind of Bionicle diorama or mock or something, I would totally have these in here. And like I said before, maybe make them like one consistent color, but I think these alone, they look so cool. I really am a fan of the look, but in terms of actually playing with them, a little bit of a downside here. There's almost too much articulation that these models have. There's so many ball and socket joints that when you try to make like one slight adjustment or you just want to fix this tiny little thing, then it results in everything kind of getting thrown off, or there's so much that you have to move just to kind of pose it, and there's so many gears flimsing around, and it's a little flimsy, these two models. Specifically, I guess like the Rahi one more so than the Vaki prototype. The Vaki prototype, that tail is a pain to try to pose. There's no way around it. There's just so many ball and socket joints. So I think that's a little bit of a downside. There's just too much of it. It's not a problem that they tried to make all of this articulation. It's just a problem of how it ends up like working together as a whole system. It kind of falls apart. So downside for me here, I think with less articulation, maybe some less movements and less gear functions, that could potentially work. If they would have just gone with, let's make it more of a display model and you can kind of move the arms and the legs, because what happens is the legs are just so thick, especially on this Rahi beast, that they just get in the way when you try to move it. It's like the Kaita legs. They were so big and so many ball and socket joints that, yeah, it just gets tough to move them around. So it would have been nice to see them use less ball and socket joints and just say like, okay, we don't need as much articulation as the Toa Metru base model. So maybe that had a part to do with it, that the base models for the Toa Metru had such perfect articulation, all this movement you could do, that when they made the combination models, they were like, okay, we need to replicate that, and I don't think they should have done that. Overall, some of my favorite models have come out of these Toa Metru. I mean, they're awesome. They might be the best that we've seen so far yet. Certainly the best Toa. That is without a question that they are the best Toa we've gotten so far. The upgrades that they made to the articulation and the different piece molds and branching out into this new world of Bionicle and expanding all of the lore, so good. So I'm such a fan of these. I don't think I liked them this much when I was a lot younger. I do remember Metru Nui when I was younger. It was like I was so excited for it after the Mask of Light, but I don't remember liking them nearly this much. And I mean, I don't know, maybe now that I'm seeing all the different stuff you can do with them and perform with them and how they fit into the other lines, so good. In terms of a price, what you're going to find for the Toa Metru, or for a used one, it's going to be about $10 each. This could go up and down depending on which Toa it is, of course. And for brand new sealed, you're going to expect to pay an average around $60 each per Toa Metru if you're looking for brand new sealed. Very easy math here. The cost for one of them brand new is equal to the cost of all of them used. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear you're going to want to just go used here, get all 6 of them for the price of one brand new. The only concern I would have about being brand new versus used are the weapon conditions for such as Nokama and Onewa. Those are a little bit thinner, more fragile models there, so I would want to check on those weapon conditions before buying used. But other than that, I really don't see any issues. Just get the 6 used instead of the one brand new, right? As for a score, big score for the Toa Metru. I'm going to go 9-0 for the Toa Metru. They're not quite the tip top. These combination models are a part of that. I can't put them as high as the Manas because, you know, these combination models, great display, just not as good functionality to really push it up past that 9-0. But those base models are pretty much flawless. Like, I didn't have a single con for them. Obviously, they're not like the best, but they're so cool. They really did exactly what they should have done. Brought us into this new world of Metru Nui with a big splash. I'm a huge fan of them. If you're someone who's looking to get into Bionicle or you're looking to expand your collection, I think these are one of the first sets I would tell you to get, especially in front of like the Toa Mata or the Toa Nuva even, because they are going to be less expensive. $10 each used. Really can't beat that very much else. I think the Toa Mata and the Toa Nuva are like a little bit more than that, maybe a little less. I don't know. I think maybe they're in the all same general price point, but in terms of brand new sealed, yeah, these are going to cost way less. But I just think that they're such great Toa. You get to skip kind of the parts of like figuring out the articulation. You have perfectly articulating Toa. Awesome lore surrounding them too. So 9-0, that's your review. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to be the first to see all of our future content. Also be sure to check us out on our website and on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Until next time, stay bricking.